Welcome to Meet Patel Audiobooks. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing. Let's begin.
Welcome to Meet Patel Audiobooks. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 31, A Call from Home. The evening settled quietly in the apartment, carrying the same calm rhythm Ryan Carter had begun to rely on. Liam rested peacefully after feeding, while Sophia sat nearby, gently watching over him. Ryan stood near the window, his phone in hand, staring at the screen for a few seconds longer than necessary. He hadn't called home in days. Not because he forgot, but because he didn't know how to explain everything. Sophia noticed his silence. "You should call them," she said softly. Ryan glanced at her. "I know." There was no pressure in her voice, just quiet encouragement. Ryan took a slow breath and tapped the call button. The phone rang only once. "Ryan?" His mother's voice came through immediately, warm but slightly concerned. "You didn't call." "I've just been busy," he replied calmly. "That's what you always say," she said, but her tone softened quickly. "Are you eating properly?" Ryan let out a faint smile. "Yeah." There was a pause before she spoke again. "When are you coming home?" Ryan hesitated for a moment. His gaze shifted toward Liam, then Sophia. "Soon," he said. "But things are a little different right now." Before his mother could respond, another voice joined the call. His father. "If something has changed," his father said calmly, "then say it clearly." Ryan remained silent for a second, then spoke honestly. "There's someone here," he said. "And a child." The line went quiet. Not shocked, just processing. Ryan didn't rush to explain everything. He kept it simple, steady, just enough for them to understand the situation without overwhelming them. After a long pause, his father spoke again. "Are you taking responsibility?" Ryan answered without hesitation. "Yes." Another short silence followed. "Then stand by it," his father said. His mother spoke next, softer than before. "We'll come visit." Ryan blinked slightly. "You don't have to." "We will," she said gently. The call ended soon after. Ryan lowered his phone slowly, his thoughts settling. Sophia looked at him. "They're coming." Ryan nodded. "Yeah." There was no tension in the room, just a quiet understanding. New task generated. Prepare for family meeting. Ryan exhaled softly. Things were moving forward again. And this time, there was no turning back. Welcome to Meet Patel Audiobooks. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 32, Preparing for Their Arrival. The next morning carried a different kind of energy. It wasn't rushed or stressful, but there was a quiet awareness in every movement Ryan made. His parents were coming. For the first time, his two worlds, past and present, were about to meet. Ryan stood in the middle of the apartment, looking around carefully. Everything needed to be in order. Not perfect, but presentable. Sophia was already adjusting things. She folded clothes neatly, rearranged small items, and made the space feel more organized without changing its simplicity. "You don't have to do all this," Ryan said. She didn't stop. "I know," she replied. "But it matters." Ryan watched her for a moment, then joined in. They moved around the apartment together, quietly working side by side. There was no need for instructions. They understood each other's actions naturally. New task generated. Create welcoming environment. Ryan didn't need to think about it. That's exactly what they were doing. Liam remained calm throughout, occasionally making small sounds that drew their attention. Both of them would pause instantly, checking on him before continuing. Time passed quickly. By the time they finished, the apartment looked different, not because of decoration, but because of care. Ryan stepped back slightly, observing the space. "It looks better," he said. Sophia nodded. "It feels better." Task completed. Reward, $140 added. Ryan leaned against the wall slightly, letting out a slow breath. "This is going to be new," he said. Sophia looked at him. "Everything already is." Her words were simple, but they carried truth. Ryan gave a small nod. He wasn't nervous, just aware. And ready. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 33, The First Meeting. The knock on the door came in the afternoon. Soft. Steady. Ryan paused for a brief moment before walking toward it. Sophia stood near the bed, holding Liam calmly, her expression composed but attentive. Ryan opened the door. His parents stood there. His mother looked exactly the same, warm, observant, and slightly emotional. His father remained calm, his expression steady, quietly taking in everything. For a moment, no one spoke. Then his mother stepped forward. "You look fine," she said, her voice softer than expected. Ryan nodded slightly. "I am." Her gaze moved past him, into the apartment. And then she saw Liam. She didn't react dramatically. Instead, she walked closer, her expression slowly softening as she looked at the child. "So this is him," she said quietly. Ryan stepped aside. "Yes." Sophia moved forward gently, holding Liam carefully. "Hello," she said. There was no hesitation in her voice. Ryan's parents turned toward her. His mother observed her closely, while his father remained silent for a moment before speaking. "You're Sophia," he said. She nodded. "Yes." There was no tension, no judgment, just quiet observation. Ryan's mother stepped closer, her attention still on Liam. "Can I?" she asked softly. Sophia nodded without hesitation. Carefully, she handed Liam over. The moment Liam was in her arms, something changed. His mother's expression softened completely. "He's calm," she said. Ryan smiled faintly. "He usually is." New task generated. Build family acceptance. Ryan stood quietly, watching the scene unfold. His father looked around the apartment once more, then back at Ryan. "You've managed things well," he said. Ryan didn't respond immediately. Then he nodded. "I tried." Task completed. Reward, $160 added. The room settled into a calm atmosphere. No conflict. No pressure. Just a new connection forming slowly. And as Ryan stood there, watching his parents, Sophia, and Liam in the same space, he realized something clearly. His worlds hadn't collided. They had come together. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 34, Settling In. The apartment, once quiet and simple, now held a different kind of warmth. Ryan Carter stood near the kitchen, watching as his mother sat comfortably on the sofa, gently holding Liam. Her expression had completely softened, all earlier uncertainty replaced by quiet affection. "He's very calm," she said again, almost as if confirming it to herself. Ryan smiled faintly. "Yeah, he is." His father stood nearby, observing everything without speaking much. His gaze moved across the room, taking in the arrangement, the small adjustments, and the effort Ryan had clearly put in. Sophia stood beside Ryan, calm as always, her presence steady and natural. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She simply remained herself. Ryan's mother looked toward her. "You've been helping him?" she asked. Sophia nodded gently. "We're managing together." The answer was simple, but it carried meaning. Ryan's father gave a slight nod. That's how it should be. There was no pressure in his tone, only acknowledgement. New task generated, strengthened family comfort. Ryan felt the system's presence, but this moment didn't need guidance. It was already happening. His mother stood up slowly, still holding Liam, and walked closer to Sophia. "You handle him well," she said. Sophia gave a small, polite smile. "I'm learning too." Ryan noticed something subtle. They weren't judging each other. They were understanding each other. Task completed. Reward, $150 added. Ryan leaned slightly against the wall, feeling the calm settle deeper. For the first time, everything felt stable. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 35, A Simple Dinner. Evening arrived quietly, bringing with it a sense of comfort that hadn't existed in the apartment before. The kitchen, once used only by Ryan, now held more movement. Sophia stood near the counter, preparing something simple. Ryan's mother joined her naturally, assisting without needing to ask. Their movements were smooth, coordinated, as if they had already found a rhythm. Ryan watched from a distance, slightly surprised. "You're just going to stand there?" his mother said without looking at him. Ryan let out a small breath and stepped forward. "I'm coming." His father sat nearby, watching the scene quietly, his expression calm. The small kitchen became a shared space. No instructions. No tension. Just simple cooperation. New task generated. Participate in shared family activity. Ryan didn't hesitate. He joined in, passing items, preparing small things, adjusting where needed. Sophia stood beside him, and for a brief moment, their hands moved at the same time, brushing lightly. This time, it didn't feel new. It felt natural. Sophia glanced at him for a second, a faint smile appearing. Ryan noticed, but didn't comment. Task progress, 80%. Dinner was simple, but it felt different. They all sat together, something that had never happened in this apartment before. Ryan looked around the table. His parents, Sophia, Liam resting nearby. Everything felt complete. "This is nice," his mother said softly. Ryan nodded. "Yeah." Task completed. Reward, $170 added. There was no need for more words. The moment spoke for itself. Welcome to Meet Patel Audiobooks. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 36, Quiet Approval. The night settled gently over the apartment, bringing a calm silence after the shared dinner. Liam had fallen asleep, resting peacefully as the room returned to its quiet rhythm. Ryan stood near the window, looking outside, while Sophia sat near the bed, ensuring everything was comfortable. His father approached slowly, standing beside him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then, calmly, "You've changed," his father said. Ryan didn't deny it. "I had to." His father nodded slightly. "That's not something everyone can do." Ryan looked at him. "You think I'm doing this right?" His father didn't answer immediately. Instead, he glanced toward Sophia, then Liam, then back at Ryan. "You're doing what matters." The words were simple, but they carried weight. Ryan let out a slow breath. That was enough. New task generated. Accept validation. Ryan didn't need to think. He already had. Task completed. Reward, $200 added. Across the room, Sophia looked at him quietly, her expression soft. She didn't say anything, but she understood. Ryan walked toward her slowly, stopping beside the bed. For a moment, they both looked at Liam, then at each other. No words, no pressure, just quiet understanding. And in that silence, something deeper settled. Not just responsibility, not just trust, but something warmer, something growing. And for the first time, Ryan Carter didn't question where things were going, because he already knew. They were building something real. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 37, An Unexpected Visit. The afternoon carried a relaxed calm inside the apartment, but that calm didn't last long. A knock came at the door. Ryan Carter glanced at it briefly, not expecting anyone. His parents were still inside. Sophia sat near Liam, and everything felt settled. He opened the door and paused. "Ryan, you live here?" Daniel stood outside, clearly surprised. Ryan blinked. "You didn't say you were coming." Daniel stepped in slightly, looking around with curiosity. "You disappeared for days. I had to check." Ryan let out a small breath. "That's fair." Daniel stepped fully inside, and then stopped. His gaze moved toward Sophia, then to Liam, then back to Ryan. "Okay," Daniel said slowly. "You're going to explain this." Ryan rubbed the back of his neck. "I was planning to." Sophia stood up calmly, her expression composed. "Hello," she said politely. Daniel nodded, still processing. "Hi. I think I need context." Ryan's mother watched quietly, a faint smile forming. "This should be interesting," she said softly. New task generated. Manage social introduction. Ryan exhaled slowly. This was going to take some explaining. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 38. Explaining the situation. The apartment felt slightly livelier now. Daniel sat on the chair, leaning forward, still trying to process everything in front of him. His expression shifted between confusion and disbelief. Ryan sat across from him, calm but aware. "So," Daniel started, gesturing slightly. "You disappeared and came back with a family?" Ryan didn't rush to answer. "It's not that simple," he said. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "It never is." Ryan explained briefly, not everything, but enough. About Liam, about taking responsibility, about Sophia. Daniel listened quietly this time. No interruptions. When Ryan finished, Daniel leaned back slightly, exhaling. "That's a lot." Ryan nodded. "Yeah." Daniel looked at Sophia, then at Liam, then back at Ryan. "You're serious about this?" Ryan didn't hesitate. "Yes." The answer was steady. Daniel studied him for a moment. Then he nodded. "All right." That was it. No drama. No disbelief. Just acceptance. Sophia watched quietly, noticing the shift. New task generated. Maintain social trust. Ryan didn't need to think. This moment was already stable. Daniel leaned slightly forward again, this time more relaxed. "So what do I call him?" he asked, pointing toward Liam. Ryan smiled faintly. "Liam." Daniel nodded. "All right, Liam." He leaned closer slightly, observing. "He's calm. Ryan let out a small breath. That's the first thing everyone says. Daniel laughed lightly. I can see why. Task completed. Reward, $130 added. The atmosphere settled again. But this time, it included someone new. And it still felt natural. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 39, A New Kind of Normal. The room carried a light energy that hadn't been there before. Daniel had relaxed completely now, sitting comfortably as if he had always been part of the space. Ryan leaned against the wall, watching as Daniel tried to interact with Liam in a slightly awkward but genuine way. So, do I just talk to him? Daniel asked. Ryan nodded. Pretty much. Daniel looked at Liam. Hi. There was a brief pause. Sophia let out a small, quiet laugh. That works. Daniel scratched the back of his head. I'm new to this. Ryan smiled slightly. Same. The conversation remained light, filled with small moments and occasional humor. Ryan's mother watched everything with quiet satisfaction, while his father remained calm, observing as usual. New task generated. Integrate social circle. Ryan understood immediately. This wasn't just about one friend. It was about slowly reconnecting his life. Daniel leaned back slightly. You've changed, he said. Ryan looked at him. In a bad way? Daniel shook his head. No, just more stable. Ryan didn't deny it. I think I am. Daniel nodded. That's good. There was no judgment. His life wasn't separate anymore. Not divided. Not hidden. It was coming together. Piece by piece. And for the first time, it felt completely natural. Welcome to Meet Patel Audiobooks. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 40. A Date to Remember. The apartment had settled back into its usual calm after Daniel's visit, but something new had quietly entered Ryan Carter's thoughts. Ryan stood near the table, looking at his phone, scrolling through dates without fully realizing why. Sophia noticed. You've been staring at that for a while, she said softly. Ryan looked up. Yeah, I was just thinking. About what? Ryan paused for a moment, then spoke. His birthday. Sophia's expression changed slightly, not surprised, but attentive. When is it? She asked. Ryan glanced back at the screen. Soon. There was a brief silence. Not heavy, just thoughtful. Sophia looked toward Liam, who was resting peacefully nearby. Then we should do something, she said. Ryan nodded slowly. I was thinking the same. New task generated. Prepare for first birthday. This time, the system's voice felt different. Not like a task, but like a moment. Ryan sat down, his thoughts more focused now. It doesn't have to be big, he said. Sophia shook her head gently. No, just meaningful. Ryan looked at her. That's better. The decision was simple, but it carried importance. For the first time, they weren't just reacting to life. They were planning something together. Task progress, 30%. And quietly, something special had begun. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 41, Planning Something Small. The next morning felt slightly different. There was a purpose behind their movements now, something subtle but clear. Ryan Carter stood near the table with a small notebook, something he hadn't used in a long time. Sophia sat across from him, calm as always. We don't need a lot, Ryan said. Just a few things. Sophia nodded. Let's keep it simple. Ryan began writing. Cake. Decorations. Maybe a small gift. He paused. What do we even get for him, he asked. Sophia smiled faintly. Something small, something he can keep. Ryan nodded. That makes sense. New task generated. Plan meaningful celebration. Ryan continued writing, organizing small ideas into something real. There was no rush. No pressure. Just careful thought. Sophia leaned slightly forward, looking at what he had written. We can invite your parents, she said. Ryan looked up. They'd like that. And maybe your friend, she added. Ryan smiled slightly. Daniel will definitely come. They both paused for a moment. The plan wasn't complicated, but it felt complete. Task progress, 70%. Ryan closed the notebook slowly. This feels different, he said. Sophia looked at him. Because it is. He nodded. This wasn't just another day. It was something they were building. Together. Task completed. Reward, $150 added. And step by step, the moment was getting closer. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 42. Preparing the details. The afternoon was calm, but filled with small movements that carried meaning. Ryan Carter stood in the middle of the apartment, looking around as if seeing it differently. This space would hold an important moment. Sophia moved quietly beside him, adjusting small things without needing to speak. "We'll need space here," Ryan said, pointing slightly. Sophia nodded. "And here," she added, moving a chair slightly. Their actions were simple, but coordinated. Every small adjustment made the space feel more prepared. New task generated. Prepare celebration environment. Ryan picked up a few items, clearing unnecessary things, making the apartment feel open. Sophia arranged a small area near the bed. "This should be enough," she said. Ryan stepped back slightly, observing. It wasn't decorated yet, but it felt ready. Task progress, 80%. Liam made a small sound, drawing both of their attention instantly. Ryan picked him up gently. Sophia watched quietly, her expression soft. "Next step," Ryan said. "Shopping," Sophia replied. They both smiled slightly. Task completed. Reward, $160 added. Ryan looked around one last time. Everything was still simple, still small, but it was enough. Because it wasn't about how big the celebration would be. It was about who would be there. And as Ryan Carter stood there, holding Liam while Sophia stood beside him, he realized something quietly. This would be their first real moment as a family. And it mattered. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 43, Stepping Out Together. The afternoon carried a quiet sense of purpose as Ryan Carter stepped out of the apartment with Sophia and Liam. The air felt light, and the city moved at its usual pace. But for Ryan, this wasn't just another day outside. There was something different in the way he walked, something steady and intentional. For the first time, he wasn't reacting to life. He was planning something meaningful. Liam rested calmly in his arms, occasionally making small movements, while Sophia walked beside him with a natural ease that had already become familiar. Their pace matched without effort, and the silence between them felt comfortable rather than empty. "We'll keep it simple," Ryan said after a moment, glancing at her. Sophia nodded slightly. Simple is better. There was no need to say more. As they reached a small local store, Ryan paused briefly before stepping inside. He hadn't done anything like this before, not for someone else, not for something this personal. The shelves were filled with decorations, small items, and things he didn't fully understand how to choose. New task generated. Gather items for meaningful celebration. The system's voice appeared quietly, but this time it didn't feel like guidance. It felt like confirmation. Ryan walked slowly through the store, his attention shifting from one item to another. He didn't rush. Instead, he tried to imagine what would feel right in their space. Sophia stayed close, occasionally glancing at items, but not interfering, letting him take the lead. "This one?" Ryan asked, picking up a small decoration. Sophia looked at it briefly, then gave a soft nod. "It's enough." He placed it carefully into the basket. One by one, they chose small things. Nothing excessive, nothing unnecessary. Every item felt intentional, selected not for appearance, but for meaning. Task progress, 60%. Ryan adjusted his hold on Liam, who remained calm, as if quietly observing everything around him. By the time they reached the counter, the basket wasn't full, but it didn't need to be. Ryan paid quietly, holding the bag as they stepped back outside. The city continued moving around them. But for Ryan, everything felt a little more focused. This wasn't just preparation. It was the beginning of a memory. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 44. Choosing Something That Stays. After leaving the first store, Ryan and Sophia walked slowly down the street, the afternoon sun casting a soft light over everything. The bag in Ryan's hand felt light, but its meaning was heavier than expected. "There's one more thing," Sophia said after a moment. Ryan looked at her. "A gift," she added. He paused slightly. Right. It was something he hadn't thought about deeply yet, but now that she mentioned it, it felt important. They entered a smaller shop, quieter than the previous one. Inside, shelves displayed simple toys and items designed for children. Ryan walked slowly, his gaze moving across each option. Nothing stood out immediately. "Not something expensive," Sophia said gently. "Something he can keep." Ryan nodded, focusing more carefully this time. He stopped in front of a small shelf, picking up a simple toy. It wasn't flashy, not overly detailed, but it felt right. Something that could stay with Liam as he grew, something tied to this moment. What about this? He asked. Sophia stepped closer, observing it for a few seconds. Then she smiled faintly. It fits. Ryan looked at it again, his grip tightening slightly, not out of doubt, but certainty. Yeah, he said quietly. New task completed. Reward, $140 added. The system's voice appeared, but Ryan barely noticed. He carried the item to the counter and paid without hesitation. As they stepped outside again, the atmosphere felt lighter. Ryan glanced at Sophia. This feels different, he said. She looked at him. Because it matters. Ryan nodded. It did. And for the first time, he understood that the value of something wasn't in how much it cost, but in why it was chosen. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 45. A Cake for the Moment. The final stop was the bakery. The soft scent of fresh bread and sweetness filled the air as Ryan stepped inside, holding Liam carefully while Sophia walked beside him. The display counter showed rows of cakes, each one different, each one more detailed than necessary. Ryan stood there quietly. This part felt important. More than decorations. More than anything else. Sophia noticed his hesitation. Not too big, she said softly. Ryan nodded. And not too complicated. He looked at the cakes again, this time more carefully. Instead of focusing on appearance, he focused on what felt right. After a few seconds, his attention settled on a small, simple cake. Clean. Neat. Enough. This one, he said. Sophia looked at it and gave a small approving nod. Perfect. Ryan ordered it, his movements calm but deliberate. When the box was placed in his hands, he held it carefully, as if it carried more than just a cake. Task completed. Reward, $150 added. The system's voice appeared briefly, but Ryan's attention remained on the box. They stepped outside together once more. The sun had begun to lower slightly, casting a warmer tone across the street. Ryan glanced at Sophia. That's everything, he said. She nodded. For now, there was no need for more. As they walked back home, carrying the small items and the cake, Ryan felt something settle inside him. This wasn't just preparation. This was care. And tomorrow, it would become a memory. Welcome to Meet Patel Audiobooks. Open Book Daily Life of a SuperDadSystem. Chapter 46. The Night Before the Moment. The apartment was quiet, but not empty. A soft sense of anticipation filled the space, something Ryan Carter could feel even without thinking about it directly. The decorations they had bought were placed neatly on the table, the small gift rested beside them, and the cake box set carefully near the corner. Everything was ready, or at least it felt ready. Ryan stood still for a moment, looking at it all. Just a few days ago, none of this would have existed. He wouldn't have thought about birthdays or planning something for someone else. But now, it mattered. Sophia moved quietly behind him, adjusting one of the small decorations. Her movements were calm and precise, as always, but tonight there was something softer in the way she carried herself. You're thinking again, she said. Ryan glanced at her. Just making sure everything is okay. She stepped closer, standing beside him. It is, she said. For a brief moment, neither moved. They both looked at the same small setup, sharing the same quiet understanding. New task generated. Create a meaningful moment. Ryan didn't respond to the system directly, because this wasn't something the system needed to guide. It was already happening. Sophia reached out and gently adjusted the cake box, making sure it was placed properly. As she did, Ryan instinctively reached at the same time to move something else, and their hands brushed lightly. This time, neither of them pulled away immediately. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't surprising. It just stayed for a second longer. Sophia glanced at him briefly, her expression calm but softer than usual. We did well, she said. Ryan nodded. Yeah, we did. Task reward. Emotional stability increased. Additional reward. $80 added. Ryan exhaled quietly. The money didn't matter much in this moment. The feeling did. Sophia turned slightly, walking toward Liam, who was sleeping peacefully. She adjusted the blanket gently, her movements careful. Ryan watched her. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. For a brief second, his thoughts slowed down completely. This wasn't just responsibility anymore. This was something more. Something quiet. Something real. And as the night settled, Ryan Carter understood something clearly. Tomorrow wasn't just a day. It was a memory waiting to happen. Open Book Daily Life of a Super Dad System. Chapter 47. The Morning of the Day. Morning arrived softly, as if the day itself understood it needed to be gentle. The sunlight entered the apartment slowly, touching the small decorations, the neatly placed table, and finally resting on Ryan Carter, who stood still for a moment, taking everything in. It was simple, but it was enough. Ryan exhaled quietly, his thoughts steady but filled with something unfamiliar, anticipation. Behind him, Sophia moved softly, already awake, holding Liam in her arms. The child looked calm, unaware of the significance of the day, yet somehow adding to its importance. "Today," Ryan said quietly. Sophia looked at him and nodded. "Today." There was no excitement in a loud sense, no rush. Just calm meaning. New task generated. Create a memorable first birthday. Ryan didn't need to think. He already knew what to do. He stepped forward and gently adjusted one of the decorations, making sure everything felt right. Sophia watched him for a moment, then walked closer. "You're careful," she said. Ryan smiled faintly. "I think I have to be." She shook her head slightly. "No, you choose to be." The word stayed with him. Task reward, gentle focus enhanced. Ryan felt it, not as a sudden change, but as a quiet clarity. He nodded slightly. "Let's start." And just like that, the day began. Open Book Daily Life of a Super Dad System. Chapter 48. Gathering Together. By the afternoon, the apartment carried a soft energy that felt different from any day before. It wasn't crowded, but it wasn't empty either. Ryan's parents had arrived again, bringing with them a quiet warmth. His mother immediately moved toward Liam, smiling gently, while his father observed everything with calm approval. Daniel arrived shortly after, stepping inside with the same curious expression. "So this is the big day," he said. Ryan nodded. "Yeah." Daniel looked around. "It's simple." Ryan smiled. "That's the point." Sophia stood nearby, her presence steady, greeting everyone naturally without distance or formality. There was no awkwardness, no pressure, just a calm gathering. New task generated. Maintain warm atmosphere. Ryan didn't need guidance. He simply moved naturally, making sure everyone was comfortable. Water was served. Small conversations began. Liam stayed calm, passing gently between arms, receiving quiet attention from everyone. Task reward. Social comfort increased. Ryan noticed something. Everything was working. Not perfectly, but naturally. And that was better. Welcome to Meet Patel Audiobooks. Open Book Daily Life of a Super Dad System. Chapter 49. The Moment That Matters. As the evening lights softened, the apartment grew quieter again. Everyone had gathered near the small table where the cake was placed. Ryan stood still for a moment. This was it. Sophia stood beside him, close enough that he could feel her presence without looking. "Ready?" she asked softly. Ryan nodded. "Yeah." He carefully held Liam, guiding him closer to the table. The candle was small. The cake was simple. But the moment was everything. New task generated. Create lasting memory. Ryan lit the candle slowly. The small flame flickered gently, reflecting in everyone's eyes. "Happy birthday," his mother said softly. Daniel smiled. "Yeah. Happy birthday, Liam." Ryan looked at the child in his arms. Then at Sophia. For a moment, everything slowed down. Task reward. Emotional connection strengthened. Ryan helped guide Liam's small hand as they gently moved toward the cake. It wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. The candle went out. And just like that, a memory was created. Open Book Daily Life of a Super Dad System. Chapter 50. After the moment. The apartment slowly returned to calm. The cake was cut, shared quietly, and small conversations filled the space before fading into a gentle silence. One by one, everyone began to settle. Ryan stood near the window, holding Liam, who had already fallen asleep again, unaware of how important the day had been. Sophia walked toward him slowly. "It went well," she said. Ryan nodded. "Yeah, it did." There was a pause. Then she stood beside him. Not distant, not close, just right. Ryan looked at her. "For everything," he said quietly. Sophia shook her head slightly. "We did it together." Final task completed. The system's voice appeared softly. Reward, emotional growth increased. Additional reward, $200 added. Ryan closed his eyes briefly. For the first time, The reward didn't matter at all. He looked at Liam, then at Sophia, and something inside him settled completely. This wasn't just a moment. It was a beginning. And as the night quietly wrapped around them, Ryan Carter understood something clearly. He wasn't just building a life.